Here we are today, here for our third of our summit podcast leading up to the Cloud Comm Summit we're holding in Washington at the end of June. Today I'm joined by Dave Dadds from Uboss. Dave, obviously we know each other very well, but many people may not know about Uboss, as you do a lot of work in the background for a number of service providers. Could you just give an introduction to yourself and the business that you work in?
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Matt, for that introduction. Within our business, as a company, we trade under a company name called DRD, but we're mainly known in the channels with three brands. So we run a couple of UK brands. One is Uboss, which is actually a direct brand that we have a few clients on. But the main two brands are the VanillaIP, which is our UK distribution and reseller brand, and then we have Uboss, which is our international brand. So the Vanilla brand's been around in the market since around about 2010. The Uboss brand is a bit newer as a brand in itself. So that's around about 4 years old now. That's where we come from.
Right. And talking sort of specifically about Uboss, you're involved a lot with this sort of onboarding and helping service provider managing users and those sorts of things in the background. Probably not one of the most sort of exciting areas, but one of the most of the key subjects concerning service providers at the moment. Can you explain some of the trends that you're seeing in your business in that area?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting from where we sit, because obviously we sit both as a service provider, which, as I said, was our original model and original position, and latterly, we're sitting as a provider of services to other service providers internationally. The trends, some of the trends are the same. It's not therefore a trend, but same things are coming up in conversation that were up in conversation 4, 5, 6 years ago. Some of the things are newer, and as people grow bases and sort of expand outwards, then obviously other things do come onto the agenda. But I think the biggest challenge that we still see today for many people, and this problem sort of is getting bigger, not smaller, is just how you automate. Obviously, number one, not just in the concept of service provision, but your device, your IP endpoints, your billing elements, your whole management of messaging, ticketing, everything that goes around running a cloud environment. Some of the bigger partners that are out there have already got some very integrated systems. But many people haven't, and even today it's surprising that some people, you'll still find will be using spreadsheets to try and manage platform. You've got a vast array of experience in the marketplace, say starting from the lowest levels to the high level. So we're really looking, as we're talking to people, our first initial element there is to try and understand, well, what are you doing today? What are you trying to do? What do you need to do? What are your markets? So that's really where we're coming from. But the trend is about automation. It's about being able to bring in multiple services. So many people, especially in the BroadSoft world, have obviously started with a voice seat, but it's like, how do I bring in my PCI compliance? How do I bring in my multimedia call center? How do I manage those 100 devices that I've got out there? And without putting, tens of more people onto the payroll.
So it's kind of moving beyond just the old soft switch provisioning, but much more into provisioning of new solutions and how to integrate sort of other products into that offering is what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. You some people you see coming from, they may have an ISDN base if they're, a legacy provider. They're maybe looking at the first stage of going to SIP trunks, but then once they've got to that point, is how do I move to hosted PBX, and then how do I wrap all of these other services that are generically called UC. And UC, as we know, is a very wide term, and you can include within it almost whatever you like. But how do I enable services within that wrap? And how do I manage deployment of them, and how do I charge for them?
Right. Okay. And that charging piece is normally a big issue as well. Most people we work with, in terms of how they build that in. But so what are the pieces that you think that people are really going to be concerned about, and they're going to be key in the future as we're moving into more of a mature market? What are those kind of key areas going to be that people should be concerned about? Is it the billing? Is it the building these new products? What sort of the key areas?
Well, I think the billing's an interesting one, because traditionally people have had separate billing systems to provisioning systems, or OSS, BSS, but really some of the thinking is really, I think, or we think, based on that's how we've always done it, and billing is certainly one of those areas, because it's really difficult to see how you provide a cloud on-demand service, 1 day, 1 minute, 1 month contracts, customer self-service, as I mentioned, without integrating billing, because, unless you can control the commercial rules around the service, you're likely to be out of pocket. If you're just talking about a fixed service, well, okay, you might be $20 out of pocket, or $5, or whatever. But if you're talking about core billing and dial-through fraud, if you're not managing that billing piece as just a seamless step-on from the service provision without any human intervention, again, how do you let a customer put 100 users on a weekend if your billing team's not going to add the CLI into the billing system till the Wednesday, and you've just been hit by $10,000 of fraud? So the two go hand in hand in our view, and e-commerce is another conversation that, billing is very difficult. How do you do e-commerce without having some sort of, very integrated billing module? So, a lot of the trouble with the billing for a lot of people, they've got a lot invested in it, and it's quite a big rethink and an additional project if they're going to do it outside of something like Uboss. But for us, it's just, the two go hand in hand. It's difficult to see why you would do the two separate.
So Uboss really is a system that brings together all those elements for a service provider. So helps them both integrate, do the stuff on the provisioning as you would on a soft switch, but also thinks further with your service provider experience of how you bring all those other key elements together in really delivering that capability to service provider.
Yeah, I think what we got with Uboss, we sort of go one up the stack. So Uboss in itself isn't a service, but it sits as like a middleware that allows it plugs into all the different elements that make up a cloud provider's service offer, both on the front side, on the products that the customer sees or their partners see if they're selling through channel, to the back end with all the APIs into the different services that they're consuming. But obviously with Uboss sitting in the middle, it becomes a mediation layer, because it's the one that's controlling the call reporting, the analytics. So, you might be reporting on your hosted phone, but you might also be reporting on your Microsoft 365 mailbox. You might also be reporting on the mobile GSM. But all of those relate around a user, so they're not. So looking at those in isolation, you can do it, but it makes a lot more sense to put them into one place and have a single analytical report based on the user, regardless of the services that user's consuming.
So Dave, Uboss kind of brings all those things together. So the billing piece, but also the software switch provisioning, and also bringing together provisioning other products and services. Yeah, is that the kind of thing it does?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what you've got within Uboss is obviously this, as I say, a cloud enabling your cloud environment. So, it's bringing together multiple services, multiple devices, services on demand, that obviously whether the reseller or the end customer is providing or enabling those services, all of those can be done in real time. Obviously, the fact that the billing is sitting behind it and actually creating the relevant billing records in real time allows for self-service, in as much as if a reseller puts 10 users on at the weekend, or you don't have to wait till the Wednesday for the CLIs to go on the billing. They're immediately into the billing system, so they're immediately part of the fraud protection and the real-time credit locking that goes on. So, whichever way you look at it, within these systems, the fact that the billing and provisioning is all in one is, we would say, a very important item or element, and especially going forward. Also, obviously, going forward, this ability to draw in other services as the reseller or the service provider wants to pull them into platform, say whether they're voice services, messaging services, productivity tools, whichever they might be. Anything can be pulled into Uboss, because the environment just is created around the user and the business. So that they're key points. And the other final point I'd make on that is the whole analytic piece, because obviously Uboss in itself is an analytic engine. It's pulling in the feeds, the data feeds from the different reports. So whether it's a user's telephony, their mobile, their messaging, all of that ultimately can be pulled into a single analytical DB for reports to be produced based on the user's service consumption, rather than isolated reporting modules that the business has to then pull together. So it's pulling everything together, it's centralizing everything, and it's whether you're the service provider, a reseller of a service provider, or the customer, you have got a fully enabled cloud environment.
Great. Okay, Dave. Well, thanks very much for that, and thanks for taking part in our latest podcast. Obviously, you'll be out in Washington with us and be on a interesting panel, and we're looking forward so people can meet up with you there and find out